Dawson's Rambles.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here with the big news video that Power Rangers has been bought by Saban. That means we now sell printers. We are now going to be working under Gabe Lewis, Joe Bennett, Ultron, aka Robert California. No, I'm just kidding. This is the big news that Power Rangers has now officially been bought by Hasbro from Saban Brands. I did several videos on the topic of the fact that the news that Hasbro, now owned the toy rights to Power Rangers from Bandai, who's no longer going to be making the toys as of spring of next year. And there was language in the contract that was revealed that said basically that this would happen, but it seemed like it would probably be like next year, like around when the same time Beast Morphers was happening. So, or later. I think a lot of us, honestly, like me, I assumed it was probably going to happen. I thought it was like 95% certain, but there was kind of like that 5% leeway that they wanted to see how it went and see how Beast Morphers went and stuff on both sides. But yeah, it was big surprise news that it happened this early. Like, it's kind of funny because we already got this huge news of Hasbro and Go Busters stuff, and then this purchase was kind of already known, but the fact that they decided to give us a third surprise by making it happen early, yeah, that was huge. Generic press release about, excited opportunities, faith in the brand, all that kind of stuff always happens. It says Saban will kind of be a consultant role for the time being now, and we don't know if it'll be forever or just when they're in transition. It would kind of be like, how Eric Kripke still consults on Supernatural, or at least he's credited as it. But who knows how long that will last, but I assume, he'll probably keep tabs on it. But anyway, that was pretty much the only really new information that was like worth noting. Other than that, like everything else we don't know other than Hasbro owns them now. But in those previous topic videos that I covered this topic under, I pretty much said I'm excited for this. I think this brand needed a shakeup. I mean, lots of people are kind of wary, and rightfully so, but it's like the same people that are like, Bandai and Saban need to go, and they're like, Hasbro has it. What? Hasbro? Like, he's got to go somewhere, guys. I think this was the best possible option. Honestly, when there was news of this potentially happening, like the first rumors, like a day or two before it happened, Hasbro was like the main contender, but the only other name I even considered as something I would want was maybe Playmates, but that's only because they've done a pretty solid job with the quality of the Voltron and Ben 10 toys, but that was only pertaining to the toys. I think Hasbro has a lot much better. I was going to say a lot more potential for the whole brand. I mean, they're not perfect toy-wise, for sure, but they do a lot of cool stuff. They have a lot of larger reach. They have experience with larger franchises. I think the problem with Saban is that I think Saban and the higher-ups did want PR to happen. I mean, they tried to get this movie to happen. They did want it to happen. But I feel like they just, not, because Saban's a successful business guy, so I'm not going to pretend to say he's not smart, but I just feel like somewhere in the whole corporate mess, David Wallace wasn't there. No, I'm sorry, I can't stop with the Office references. No, but they just didn't know how to make it happen now. It seemed like they were trying too hard to be like, well, remember like in the 90s when we were like basically Beanie Babies for that year? Let's just do that again, it'll work. Just put the same dialogue in there, put Go-Go in front of the morphing call, just like graft the MMPR theme onto every theme song, like it'll be a hit, It's just, I think that they just didn't know how to make it happen. And not for lack of trying at the beginning, but a shakeup needed to happen. Power Rangers was in such a state of complacency, both in the toys and the show, and I honestly thought it would be a long time before we got any sort of shakeup. I was prepared to serve a long sentence under the Neo Saban Bandai era because they seem to be fine with just good enough, which is my philosophy on life. But don't follow my example. But they seem to be very okay with that. So I assumed eventually something would change. I kind of assumed they would eventually tire themselves out and then PR would go away for a bit again and then be some sort of resurgence, but this could have been like 15 years or more out. But honestly what I was assuming, just because they were so fine with it. And they needed a shakeup, and this whole news, I've said it in previous videos, but at least shows me that behind the scenes it shows me two things: that Saban and everyone there realized that they needed to change something, that it wasn't working, and that Hasbro and others saw that this franchise still has huge potential left, and I think that's exciting. Again, it's all so unknown right now. I get so many, I'm usually a negative person, but I get so many like negative comments about what this is going to mean, but we know so little, it's hard to say. And this news, along with the fact that we're doing Go Busters, was such a hard left turn that honestly I'm not ruling anything out at this point. Because just a year ago, if you asked me questions like, do you think they'll do this, or if even I was doing some sort of speculation video, I would immediately shoot it down like, but that probably won't happen. But now it's like, who knows? I think this has huge potential. I think the toy stuff could be great. Like I said, I think they have a larger reach. I think if we get a legacy-like line of 6-inch figures, we could get better quality stuff. I was just saying on Twitter how I'd love to see figures based off the comic stuff, because if you follow the Marvel Legends line or the Star Wars like Black Series lines, their sort of approach is they have like each wave is sort of themed around what is current, like the Han Solo movie or Last Jedi or Thor Ragnarok or Avengers. And so like half or most of the wave will pertain to that, but then they'll have a few figures from like the comic or something else. And even though like I was originally a proponent of let's do all one season, I could totally see something like this being awesome. Like, make the first wave like, oh, here's like the 3 Go Busters, and then here's a Draken figure, and then here's like 2 NPR guys from various parts. Like, they know how to do this wave. And if you'll notice their stuff, or this line, not wave, they aren't afraid of shelf warming figures. There's always that one obscure character that warms shelves, and it never seems to deter them. Like, Bandai had like one wave that didn't sell good as well because it didn't have MMPR, and they're like, oh my god, panic in the streets, just stop painting them. Like, they just didn't know what to do. So I have honestly faith in that section. I think it was a huge good sign that they decided to go for Go Busters and saw the potential in the designs, because that doesn't have a gimmick. I feel another thing that Bandai and Saban had found was, oh, gimmicks! This is cool. I was like, oh crap, they found it. It's like when a kid finds something annoying you didn't want them to find, and they're like, oh, yeah, gimmicks, that's cool. So the fact that they're going for a season without a gimmick is a good thing. Again, I already did a whole video on the toys, so I'm just going to leave the rest of this, hopefully short amount of the video, on the other stuff. But as far as the show goes, people have been asking, like, what does this mean it's not going to be on Nick? I'm like 99% sure it's going to stay with Nick for the 3 years we know about. Because I don't think... I'm going to assume that Hasbro and Bandai or Saban have been talking for a while, so I don't think they would close another 3-year deal with Nick just months before this went through if there was a chance of that contract dissolving. So they could change networks after this, but I'm fairly confident that it will stay with Nick for the 3 years. I think the 3 years was a telling thing, that we could get back to a different format of sorts, of like maybe one 20-episode season for Go Busters, and who knows after that. That's very unknowable, but I'm fairly certain they're going to stay with Nick, because again, I can't see them signing a deal with Nick that would be in question so close to this. If they had re-signed a year or two ago, and we were in the middle of it, then I could maybe see it being in question, and I don't know how that corporate stuff works, but I don't think they would have signed it so soon. I get a feeling that, even though I'm excited that Beast Morphers exists, because I love that we're doing Go Busters, I'm very cautious about the show, because it seems like all the behind-the-scenes people are staying, and that's the real problem. So I think it could end up being the same, or only a little bit better. I get a feeling Beast Morphers is going to be our transitionary year, and that we might not see any real positive or noticeable change until the season after. I think they just need to clean house behind the scenes. I mean, at least the showrunner and the writers. You don't need to fire like the camera people or like, you're fired, but I just get the coffee. You're what made Dino Charge awful, you PA. No, but yeah, we need a shakeup behind the scenes. Again, that could be a whole other video, but whether it happens at some point during Beast Morphers or after, I think we need a total shakeup. New showrunners, new writers, one showrunner, new showrunner. But yeah, we need to shake up with that. But I get a feel, I'm cautiously optimistic about it. For all I know, like, there was a fire lit under them, not like the Pokemon, that will make Beast Morphers better. But I'm just going to assume that it'll be more transitionary, and the more change we'll see will be after that. As far as the movie goes, I think this is potential for more movies. I'm gonna, again, I don't want to rule anything out. After this news, anything's possible, but I think if we ever do movies again in the nearest future, it'll probably be a reboot, just because that just makes the most. I mean, they've rebooted Spider-Man in less time. If it were up to me, if I had some sort of vote, I would love to see a continuation of this movie, but I think it's on the table. I don't think it'll be in the near future, but the nearish future that we could hear something about it, just because Hasbro has experience with that, but again, I think it would be more of a reboot. I would love to see it be more like a soft reboot, but again, I could do like a video on each of these topics. As far as things that are existing now changing, the only thing I really want to make sure stays the same, which I honestly don't think will change, is the Boom comics. That's the only thing I really care about not changing. I want to see Boom stay with that. That's currently the best thing about the franchise. But again, I don't really foresee that relationship changing, especially since the Shattered Grid issues have just been continuously selling out. I think it would be dumb to cut off anything with that. But yeah, I hope that stays. People have brought up like the Shout relationship. I don't foresee that changing either. The only thing I really care about changing with that is once we're like about to hit Gal Rangers, so we're not too far off from hitting seasons that were shot in HD. So I doubt it will happen, but it'll be great to get Blu-rays for the seasons that were shot in HD. It's like, come on guys, DVDs, really? But yeah, there's certain things that I know that could kind of be up in the air, but I think this will only be positive stuff because the franchise was in such a stagnant to downward movement that this needed to happen. And again, it's not perfect. It's not the perfect choice. I'm not saying Hasbro is the perfect savior, but I think there's more good than bad that will come out of this, especially since there was really nowhere to go but up with this news, and I think that this shows that there's renewed faith in it, and I'm excited about the future because I think this means a lot of exciting news and new possibilities for Power Rangers. I'll do more videos as any news breaks. At some point in the next couple weeks I might do, you know, a video on my thoughts on what I'd like to see happen with certain things, because I didn't want to bog this video down with that stuff more than I already did. But yeah, as soon as any news breaks about this, I'll make sure to do a video on it, but I might do a speculation video. But anyway, until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It's Dawson Rider, signing out.